Hey, everybody, welcome back to the AI in Business podcast, where we talk about the realistic applications that you can use AI for in your business. So, today we're going to be talking about the utilization of voice recording, transcribing, and also AI agents, and how AI agents can be set up and how they can be utilized for their business. So, I'll start out with the AI voice recording. So, basically, for our business, we use what's called a plod pen. You don't necessarily have to use a plod pen. There's a lot of other ones out there that you can use, but it's just an AI voice recorder. You clip it on your lapel, and I go out to our quotes or meetings, or if I'm talking to anybody related to the business, and I will actually use this pen to record the conversation, transcribe it, and summarize it. And I would say that this is probably the easiest possible thing that you could implement into your business. It's so simple. There's no reason you shouldn't do it. And it basically takes your workflow. And if you forget about things or you need to look back at something, every single thing related to your business is recorded and transcribed. So Aaron, how have you guys utilized like AI voice recording with your agency?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to hear you say that because I know you're coming from more of like in the field, like service positioning. But for us, we're doing everything 100% virtually. So for us, what we're doing is we're utilizing an app called Granola. And what that does is that will actually allow you to open up an app without even having a physical device. And you can literally start to take notes on any calls that you're on, specifically like Zoom or other applications like Google Meet, any application really that you're using your computer with and you're speaking to a client, you can actually utilize that to start taking notes. And then later on, you can ask questions around what happened in the meeting, and also you can utilize it. I take it almost verbatim into, let's say, Claude or another AI and basically say, now based off of this conversation, write me up a exact proposal of what I need to do. Or like later on, it's like, now take this information from this call and actually make this into the solution that they were talking about on the phone. So it's like, it's crazy how much you can loop those pieces in together and basically use it as a digital brain, second brain, where you can offload a lot of your thoughts. And it's just like, I think what you're saying with the pen, but that's more in the physical sense of on your shirt or on your
Right.
phone.
Being present.
Yeah. But if
Yeah.
you're on virtual, then you can just download that app. It's actually even free. I think I'm still on the free plan. So it's pretty wild
Yeah.
what you can do without even any investment if you're just getting started. But if you do want to take it to the next level, I've even thought of doing that too for physical meetings, like buying one of those pens or buying the thing that attaches to the phone. So that way, when I'm even
Yeah.
on a cell phone call, now I can take notes using AI and leveraging AI.
Yeah, and the thing is these devices last for like 20 hours. So you can
Hmm.
even go to like a convention center. Like if your business requires you to go to a convention center and talk to all these people, and you can record every single conversation and look back and have enormous amounts of very specific information that was said in conversation. And like if you're not doing this, literally anything, you can be a realtor, you can grind stumps for a living, you can be an electrician, you can be a digital agency, literally everybody needs this. And like if you don't have it, you're falling behind. And I'll give an example where we utilize this, like we leverage this immensely for us. We actually were out doing a quote for a customer, and we have it set up now. We've kind of taken it to another level where we'll take the whole entire transcript of the conversation of doing the quote, and I'll just feed it into a custom GPT and it'll just spit me out the quote. So I don't have to like spend all this time putting a quote together. But even in its simplest format of just recording the conversation and just storing that, I had a customer that said, "Hey, you guys said you guys were going to do this area when you came out and did the quote." And I'm like, there's no way we said that because their price would be triple if we would
Hmm.
have said that. I was able to just go back to the actual word for word conversation, and like you can even search it, right? like, what areas did I mention when I was out there doing this quote that we would do? And it would give me the points in the conversation exactly what I said we were gonna do. And I can go back to that customer and say, "Hey, like, we're more than happy to do those areas for you. But just to be clear, we never said that we were gonna do these areas. In fact, it explicitly stated right here when we discussed these areas that you didn't want to do these yet. You wanted to do these at a later time. And like we can do it, we're more than happy to, but we're going to have to add it on to the quote, right? And like that's something that you just didn't have before. Even if you just had an audio transcriber, you would have to go back and listen to that entire conversation. But now that you've got AI that's able to parse all of this information out for you, and I mean, you basically become bulletproof. You protect
Mhm.
so much liability, and it's such an affordable and easy thing to do that every business owner should be doing this.
Yeah, that just reminded me of something insane because I actually kind of forgot about this because we've been doing like video recording and voice recording on our calls for probably the past like 2 years now, I want to say. So it's something that
Yeah,
like I take for granted that we've been doing for quite a while, but we've actually had cases where people will say, "Hey, we didn't tell you that you could spend this much on our advertising," and then we could go back and we say, "Well, we actually have the video of where you're saying that," and like they have nothing, they have no recourse. They can't say
right.
anything past that because the case ends there. We also had a case where we had a like one of our first of like ever chargebacks, and we literally had the like video conversations and voice recordings, AI summaries, everything. So when the customer said that, while we couldn't use like 100% of it, we could go to the customer and basically say like, we literally have everything recorded. We can send you the documents. And that actually was used in our case to be able to win a chargeback. So he was trying to
Yeah,
charge back, like, I think it was like a month or two after he left our services. Never told us that he was just like unhappy or anything. Is just out of the blue randomly. He tried to get, I think it was like 2 or 3 months of his service refunded to him. And we were able to get, or well, the thing that sucked is they just took out that money from you until the investigation is done. So that lasted for months. But the
yeah.
good thing is because of all the documentation, we had signed documents, um, all the things that you're talking about. It's like the customer is no longer always right.
Right, it makes you bulletproof, and if you've got employees, you can go back and see like, "Hey, like, my employee never said that," or they did
Mhm.
say that, and,
Yeah.
like and sometimes that's the case.
Yeah.
I think one of the other cool uses for it, and this happened with us, is sometimes they'll go out and do these quotes, and you'll have, like, 3 or 4 people talking to you at once.
Mhm.
And so, like, these people are talking to me about an area, they'll mention something, but you can only, like, focus listen on one person, maybe 2 at a
Yeah.
time, and somebody might mention something offhand that you like, your brain didn't hear. Well, like,
Mhm.
the AI pen heard it, and so when I went back and I went to do the quote, and it spits out the summary, and it points out, "Hey, they mentioned clearing around this pond," and I'm like, "I don't even remember that."
Yeah.
I didn't hear that, like, it never even registered in my mind that
Mhm.
somebody said this, and so I went back and listened to the conversation, and I heard, like, one of the other people that were there, like, "Hey, could you guys also clear on this pond?" But I was engaged in the conversation with somebody else that was there, and so, like, I didn't even respond to them or hear them. And so I went back and I was like, okay, well, I'll call them. So I called them, hey, did you guys want us to clear around this pond too? And like, oh, yeah, yeah, we mentioned that. We thought you didn't hear us. And I was like, oh, no, I heard you. Like, oh, sorry, I just didn't, was kind of talking about this. But, yeah, I mean, the added opportunity that you have there, and then you can even take the transcripts, and then I can feed these transcripts into, I don't know, ChatGPT, whatever AI you want, copy paste the transcript and say, "Hey, what could I have done better here in this conversation? What kind of upsells should I have offered? What things did I not mention that I should have? What questions did I not answer good enough?" And you can use those transcripts to just train yourself. And like it's so simple. You just hit a button on a recording device and
Mhm.
that's it. I mean, that's literally it. So like People need to be doing this all the time. And I think where I was talking to a realtor about this, and they were like, "Do you think this would help in real estate?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, like probably real estate is the number one thing." Because you imagine like doing an open house and you've got 30 people trying to talk to you at one time.
Mhm,
Like just being able to capture all of that conversation, being able to go back and respond to every single person individually. I mean, just the efficiency that this allows you, and it saves you time too. You're not taking hand notes. You don't even need to
mhm,
take notes. You don't need to go back and look at your notes. I mean, if you're doing an open house as a realtor and you've got 100 notes on what all these people wanted, and you've got to go through each one and type out your email and blah blah blah. Whereas this, you could just take the transcript. Hey, these are the people. Please draft an email to each individual person. And it'll just like your work output is more than a 10x, more than
yeah,
10x. I would argue it's 100x.
yeah,
So,
it's
and you
ridiculous.
can be lazy if you want. If you just want a 10x your work output, you can be lazy, right? But yeah, I mean, it's so powerful. And I actually just saw, I was just showing you this before the podcast, Aaron, the
Mhm,
Insta 360 wave. Like
yeah,
in our business, we don't. It's basically a camera. It's on a pedestal and it uses an AI thing. It's Insta360. They're a big camera brand, but it'll spin and it'll follow the conversation and it'll automatically turn to the person who's talking. And so like being able to document all of your meetings, like if you're a business
mhm,
that has a ton of in-person conference room style meetings, 100% you need to have this. Even if it's like just a simple meeting, sometimes something is mentioned in that where you could go take this information, transcribe it, go back and refer to it later. Just
mhm,
having something that was like $300 or something. It's super affordable, and just the value it provides. The value that AI provides businesses in general is astronomical. And I'm tired of people saying that AI is just slop because it totally isn't. Aaron, it brings me to the point of that. I'm not a huge fan of Mark Cuban, right? But I saw
yeah,
Mark
me either.
Cuban on X. He had posted something like there's 3 layers of businesses where there's basically the ones who produce, they're the ones who hire, and then there's, like, the integrators in between that are
Mhm,
kind of the go-between between these businesses. So in our field, for example, you might have, like, a large commercial buyer who goes to a general contractor, and then the general contractor, in many cases, doesn't even do any of the work, they just subcontract everything out.
right.
Well, the general contractor in this scenario is kind of like that integrator, that kind of layer in between. And he said that like that layer is gone. It'll be gone in
Hmm,
5 years. So any business that operates this way will be eliminated. And if you don't adapt to one of the other sides, like one or the other side, then you're going to be gone. And he said that the people who hate AI, the ones who are averse to it, are that people who make their money in the middle.
hmm,
And I thought that was really interesting. I should go back and look at his original post, but yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. But
yeah,
anyways, went a little off topic there. So Aaron, how could we, as far as like agents go, says AI
mhm.
agents are another big thing. How could people take these transcriptions from their meetings and conversations and quotes and stuff and utilize that to be fast access information?
Yeah, so I mean, there's, I guess, like, well, one thing to finish off on the note taking, and then I'll dive into the agent side. But it just kind of reminded me when you were talking about it on how I was able to like increase my sales super significantly. Like when I first started, I went through tons and tons of calls, and I was basically just reading off a script or constantly, and people could actually feel that on the other end. It's like you're being scripted, you're not just being yourself and being on the call. So one thing that the AI note taking, or just allowing something to be on there, taking the notes and taking away from you having to sit there and actually write something on a piece of paper, it allowed like a connection that was not possible before, because like whenever you're looking away, whenever you're looking down, you're breaking that connection. But when you're there and you're like present to people, it's like people feel that on the other end. And then it's like now
Yeah.
all those things that like you said that you don't hear. Maybe when you're in the moment you didn't even hear it, but like later on, you're not gonna, basically it looks like you didn't forget it because you have that augmented assistant that's always on there, always taking notes for you and that kind of thing.
Dude,
So
I
yeah, that's
actually have a
just a big one.
perfect that's a great example and or a great point, and I have a perfect scenario of this, okay?
Yeah.
So I was wearing my plod pin, I was going out to quote a golf course, and now this is a 18-hole golf course, and the guy was taking me around on his golf cart, and he had very specific sections on every single hole
Mhm.
where he would want some like, wants this area cleaned up or cleared. And I mean, it was extremely detailed.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, how in the world is anybody going to quote this? Because you're talking this tiny little area on hole 3, but then you've also got this front by the front left, the tee box on hole 2. It was just so complicated. And I this was really the stress test for this AI, right? Because I was wearing it, I'm like, oh God, I hope it's picking up everything, right? Because this is
Mhm.
gonna be impossible to go back and actually write out a line item quote for. And so, but I just trusted it, and I didn't open my phone and pull my phone out of my pocket and take a note on each one. If anything, I would just like kind of reiterate where he's showing me the holes. I'm like, okay, this is hole 15, right? Just to be
Yeah.
sure. He's like, yeah, this is hole 15, so that the pen would pick it up. And I was engaged with conversation with him the entire time. And
Mhm.
I go back and I output the summary of this whole quote, and it was perfect,
Yeah.
perfect.
Dude, their
And
mind is, like, so blown.
and so,
Like
like, I sent this guy this estimate that was detailed descriptions. I mean, you're
mhm.
talking probably 50 different areas that we had talked about. Detailed descriptions of their location, the type of brush, every single piece of this laid out perfectly.
Yep.
And I think I freaked the guy out a little bit because I like sent it. I mean, sent him this like perfect estimate, and he's like,
Yeah.
"How in the world, right? How did you possibly even get that right?" You know, because I think he
Yep.
even knew it was going to be very complicated. But yeah, anyways, I just thought that was a great example where it allowed me to be engaged with him the whole time and
Mhm.
also do something that I probably, if I were actually taking notes, I probably would have got it way wrong just because of how complex it was. And, like, the
Yeah.
AI brain is better than my brain, especially when applied to things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's like focus on the real world connection and then, like, use that to augment the rest of the stuff. So it's like you're able to provide and you did win that quote, right? I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no,
okay. Yeah,
who else was gonna do that detail of us?
yeah.
You know, and be that perfect on it.
Well,
It was
that's
like a
the thing, it's
no-brainer we were
like
gonna get that.
yeah, like, he might have had another estimate or someone's coming out and they built a good connection with them and all that, they went out and partied with them, who knows, but then it's like when the quote comes around, it's like, "Wait, they're missing half the stuff that I said, they don't really understand what I need," that kinda stuff, so now it allows you to do both, like, without sacrificing either or, you can have a stronger connection, like, I think that's a lesson right there is, like, use
Yeah,
AI to build a stronger connection with the person, like, because at the end of the day, no matter how much AI replaces, you can't replace, like, a human connection, so it's like, at least as of right
right.
now, who knows what
You're
they'll be doing.
outsourcing the
Yeah,
note-taking work, and
yeah,
then you're that's allowing you to maintain a stronger connection, a human connection during a
right.
sale. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yep.
then it's like, you're gonna be the top salesperson because now you're the only person that understands them and actually the person that they felt the most heard from because you're there and or you're very present with them and you're, like, telling them exactly or responding exactly what or to, like, what their feelings are, like, what they're saying because you can, because that all the little minuscule details are already being taken care of for you. So I guess that kind of transitions over to like the agent side of things. It's like, how can we use an agent? Well, first of all, like what is an agent, I guess would be a good place to start because
Yeah.
that word gets thrown out a lot, but a lot of people maybe don't know exactly what it means. So if you just look at the root of the word, it's like agency, for example, it's like having the ability to do something autonomously on its own. So essentially, that's what an agent is. it's something that like an AI that's set with a specific skill set. So maybe you have an AI agent that's an expert at creating quotes. And then with that specific agent, you're able to pass this information off to it, like the transcripts, the video, all the stuff that you want to send over. And then it's going to be able to take that information and autonomously start looking through it, start researching things, start putting together a proposal for you. And then you're like basically coming in the next day after you just had a phone call and the quote's already ready or it's already been sent out to the prospect with all of the specific details that were inside of that pen. So it's kind of that's I guess the way to easiest or the easiest way to explain it. But I guess yeah, from your viewpoint and then Alex, you're getting into them, but you're
Yeah.
still trying to learn more. So does that kind of paint the
Yeah, so
picture? Or
I would say there's like different levels of agents, and I would say like if you're starting out and you just need to offload some thinking or especially some stuff that's more complex, like I would even argue that a GPT, like a custom GPT is a mini easy simple form of an agent. And like
Mhm,
what we use a custom GPT for is for one, we don't want our line items to be generic. Like we don't want them to just say like forestry mulching of 1.5 acres in medium brush and then spit out a price. We want them to look professional. So what we'll do is we use a custom GPT that says, "Hey, this is our service. These are the machines that we use. These are the goals that we achieve." And we just tell that agent that custom GPT that, okay, I'm going to feed you a transcript and then
mhm.
you create the line item based off of this transcript. And you don't even have to be that specific. I mean, you can just experiment with it. It's super easy to set up and it'll just spit out a line item name and a line item description that's perfect every single time. If they mentioned like they wanted to keep this area clear to build a new playground. It'll say like using a Takahauchi TL12 61-inch forestry Fecon head that we will maintain a green space for the establishment of a new playground. And you know what I mean? It's like perfect every time.
Yeah.
And it's so good and it's so professional. And this is just like the simplest form of an agent, in my opinion. It's like
Mhm.
an LLM agent, and it solves one specific problem. And I think agents can get a lot more intense than that. You can start connecting your calendars and databases and all kinds of stuff to an agent. And that's something that Aaron knows more about than I do. I've done it before. It's just it gets a little bit more complex, but as time goes on, it's becoming easier and easier to set up these agents.
Yeah, and I think like setting up basically like a RAG system it's called, where it's like you have a database of things or you have a bunch of files that you can upload directly to train that specific agent. So it's like let's say I always relate it back to if you were training an actual employee, it's like what SOP or standard operating procedures would you be giving to that employee so that way they could go in and do their job. So that's where it comes down to more like having more specialized skill sets, whether you're interacting it direct or interacting with it directly, just in a conversational mode like you're talking about, or if you go all the way to like 100% autonomy. It's like the 100% autonomy is obviously the end goal, but you still have iterations throughout that. It's kind of like
Right.
too when you're delegating to an employee. First, you're going to kind of be working directly with them. You're going to be overseeing what they do.
So Aaron,
You give them
I hate to
instructions.
interrupt you, but I
Yeah,
love that comparison that it's an employee because
yeah,
like in my mind, this is the explain like I'm five version, essentially where in my mind when I hear that I'm like, okay, imagine you took all of your documents and all of the information that you need to give a new hire and you give that new hire everything that they need, just it's just all documented, your standard operating procedures, how your company works, and, like, they know it instantly and never forget it.
yep.
That's basically what it is. It's like it's
Never call
crazy.
off.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, they never call off. They're always available 100% of the time. But yeah, you're right. It's like training a new employee. You're giving them all of the training materials, and
Hmm.
then they just never forget it.
Yeah.
You know?
And
It's really
much
interesting.
like, when you're training someone, it's like much like when you're about to give them more agency, like allow them to call more shots, allow them to run on their own, and you start to trust it more. That's like the ultimate end goal of an agent, to like be able to run autonomously and not necessarily remove everyone's job, but it removes like the busy work that you have to do on a day-to-day basis, is the way that I like to look at it. So you can actually focus more on the important things, the strategy. Like everyone always likes to say, focus on building your business instead of being in your business or something like
Yeah,
that. But
working
it's
on the
like
business, not in
working
the
on the business.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes back to that in a way where it's like now you've got the thing or the AI that's working on the business so you can, or working in the business so you can work on the business to help build it, help make it better, help strategize, and really, I mean, it's going to minimize the amount of people that are necessary in a particular organization. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around that, but it's going to take the level of people, the caliber of people to the next level that are within the organization. Like even if you look at OpenAI right now, I think they're running off like 20 people and they have Chat GPT, which is like billions of dollars.
That's
So,
crazy. Yeah.
and do you
Aaron,
think
that
his team's
actually,
getting bigger or small? Like
yeah,
once,
you
yeah.
you actually sparked an idea for me because one of the things that we deal with when we do like large contracts is that like a large company, like a large contractor will have like a safety supervisor. And
Hmm.
so like this safety supervisor will produce like all of your safety documentation. And it's literally, it's mostly paperwork. It's not actually doing anything out in the field. But I
Right.
just thought about like, wait a minute, because they want to see all your documents and stuff. Like I could just take our safety information in a
Hmm.
forestry mulching in particular. I mean, it's going to have its own things too, but I could just feed all of that into like a safety coordinator
Yeah.
bot, like
Agent.
agent,
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah, agent. And so like I could be like, "Hey, Clear Creek Excavating general contractor wants us to provide our safety information for this style of project." And then I could just prompt the agent and then it'll just send me that document. And then
Hmm.
I just
Yeah.
attach it and I don't ever have to hire a safety supervisor. You know
Nah.
what I mean?
And the
Unless it's like in the field stuff, which would come eventually. But like on as it could basically take a business that's small and allow it to take on all of these things that a large business would be able to do because they have all of
mhm.
the staff for it. And like yeah, but you're right. You like you said, ChatGPT, OpenAI's got 20 people. They're
Yeah.
a multi-billion-dollar company because they built all of these things. And like
Mhm.
there's no reason you can't do this for your business too. It's not even that difficult.
No. Yeah, and I mean, it's like there's stages to it, but it's like all really the only thing separating you from, like, your custom GPT versus an agent that's doing it for you is, like, maybe a few lines of code, because it's like essentially
Yeah.
all it has to do is just tell it at 9 a.m. every morning, go out and do these tasks. And then on top of that, what tools do I want to give the agent? So maybe I want to give it access to my Gmail. Maybe I want to give it access into my calendar or my project management system or whatever else that you are constantly using within your business organization. And they're only going to have access to those specific tools, but within that realm and that specific specialization, if you will, they're essentially going to be able to perform a lot better than if you're just going directly to ChatGPT, let's say, or Claude or one of the other platforms and generically asking it a question. But I think one of the
Yeah.
biggest things, like with my business partner, we're always going back and forth because I always want like more and more efficiency, even if it's something takes like 2 minutes. How can it be more efficient? But it's like I think at the end of the day with GPTs, it's almost like we want to be or have some level of significance on like running the GPT ourselves, as if we're like
Yeah.
going to be able to do it better than anyone else and all this type of thing. But really, there comes a time, just like there comes a time in an employee's life cycle in the company where you have to let the training wheels go and you have to let them off on their own, and you have to trust that they're going to do the things that you've trained them to do, and you can't just sit there and micromanage all day long and make sure that they're doing everything 100% because you're giving up like 98% of your efficiency by trying to control like 100% of the situation versus like
Yeah.
allowing it to be iterative. It's okay to like don't just set it up and forget it. But eventually, once you have something like once you have a set of instructions and you've got the training, you've got all the tools that the agent has access to, then it's time to go ahead and say, okay, let's go ahead and just automate this piece. And then that way I can focus my time and efforts on other things. Cause even if we're only spending an hour or two on something every week, we might be spending 5 or 10 hours on that mentally, either thinking
Yeah.
about it beforehand, thinking after, doing little follow up things that we never really measure in our day to day life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I think agents are kind of come into play. They're not necessarily to eliminate 100% of work, but it's to take all the like busy work and the work that no one wanted to really do anyway and take that away to where now it's someone that's specifically a subject matter expert in that field. And then they're kind of being a human in the loop and looking at that
Right.
data and saying, does that make sense? Maybe they need to massage the data or change around things a little bit before sending it out, but it gets them 99% of the way there. And all they have to do is just review that output of the agent before making it live in production.
No different than just being the boss of an employee, you
Yeah.
know? Ultimately, everything comes down to you on responsibility, and you gotta review what your employees put out there.
Yep.
I was thinking too, I was like, okay, what's probably one of the easiest agents to set up for just anybody? And what I thought of was like, one of the challenges that a small business has is that there's so many social platforms, and everybody knows that you need to post up content on social media regularly. And a lot of times what happens is like let's use Joe's pool service as an example, right? Joe's Pool Service sells pool cleaning, filtering, whatever, right? Shock treatments. Well, Joe is always out at work, right? He's always out shocking people's pools and chlorinating them. And he gets home from a long day of work and he doesn't want to sit down and spend 3 hours posting on social media. And I think that a marketing agent that posts on social media for you is probably one of the easiest possible agents that you can build and the easiest to implement and has a ton of value. So, and a lot of times with social media, you just need to have content out there. You're using the search engines are utilizing your social media profiles to make sure that you're active and you're posting things and you're posting things that are relevant to your business. It's putting all of your keywords on there. A lot of times for a small business, you're not going to get a ton of social media engagement anyways. You might from like your friends and family, but it's more about just showing you're active and showing you're there. And an agent is the perfect thing for this. You can just give it a few topics like how to chlorinate your pool, what time of year should you winterize your pool, and just different topics, and then let AI write all of this content for you and automatically post it across every single social media network. You know, that's something that big companies like let's say you're a $100 million a year plus company, they might have a social media manager for. But honestly, I've seen some stuff from social media managers and I've seen a lot of content from AI, and I think the AI is in many cases much better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for a small business that can't afford a social media manager, an agent is perfect for it. It's simple and it keeps your content relevant and posting.
Yeah, no, that's a big one. And then customer like relationship type stuff, like essentially looking at did you get a negative review on Google and just responding to it for you. If you have a specific thing that you would normally say anyway, you could basically have it automatically post that. Also on YouTube, if you have a YouTube channel, you can have it automatically respond to comments because like that's all relationship building, but at the end of the day, it's basically a lot of just copy and paste. Of course, you still have some human element, and you might even want to just get a notification that you had a 1 star, for example, and then you want to go in and you want to actually respond to it yourself, you could do that
Right.
too.
Like give
But just
specifics about it or something. Yeah.
yeah, but don't just let
Yeah.
it sit there without any response, because without any response, that's way worse than having a response on there, because it shows that you're not a slumlord business owner or whatever, and you actually care about the relationship with the customers, stuff like that.
Right. And yeah, I would say the same thing goes with social media posting. Don't just let AI post everything. You
Uh,
still got to go. You got to take pictures of your work, and you still got to do your human element posting. So the agents are more there to fill the gaps and make things more consistent and easier, but you still need to add the human element onto things. And Aaron,
yeah,
actually, one of the posts I made the other day was one of the reasons I think that people don't like AI and are averse to things that are AI is not necessarily because it's not good. It in many cases it's extremely good. AI can make good music, it can make good videos, it can make good content, it can write perfect email replies and all of this stuff. I feel like humans, we've always measured things by human cost. And AI kind of takes away that connection that other humans have with other humans. Because if a machine wrote it, just because it's good, it doesn't have any human cost applied to it. And so I think that's why people are averse to AI. But I also think, with that said, over time, I think the human cost element of things is going to, for one, it's going to be a lot more valuable. But I also think that AI will become very accepted. So it may
yeah.
not necessarily have that human cost element attached to it that we're averse to right now, but it will, the AI will be accepted, and then the human cost element of things will be valued much, much higher. So something that's handmade is already has a lot of value because it has a human cost element. When AI is mainstream and utilized everywhere 10 years from now, something that's handmade is going to be 10 times the value.
Yeah, and I think it's like this ends up being like a collective consciousness type thing. It's like, as of right now, we're at this like same consciousness across the globe, more or less, of like we value the human element, and that human element is important, but it's like accepting anything new and like anything that could potentially threaten your livelihood is very difficult for people, because we're ultimately seeking significance in the world, you know? So it's like anytime I'm accepting that, it's like, I forget what was it called? Something, yeah, I'm blanking on the word, but it's like a psychological term where essentially it means that if you see something with evidence supporting it, but your mind like doesn't want to believe it, it will just go ahead and shut it down, and it won't even accept that. So I think that's kind of what's happening with AI, is like people see it as a threat to their livelihood. And
Hmm.
rather than like seeking to be better, rather than like seeking how can I become, in a way, I think with AI, it still even has a human element to it, whether it's automated, like in terms of like a video production or music, or, you know, some sort of AI music or things like that. Because at the end of the day, people are becoming more like orchestrators and less like singers and songwriters and things like that.
Right.
So they're like controlling, you know, the way that the AI outputs things, but they're, at the end of the day, it's actually their original thought that was put into the system to get that unique video, the unique thing. Yeah, they didn't have to do the sweat labor to actually put the video together, edit it, that kind of stuff, but they're
Mm.
still, it's still their ultimate vision. And that's the way that I feel whenever I'm making apps.
Right.
It's like I could teach anyone how to make a basic app, but if you have zero vision, if you don't know how to dictate what you want specifically, um, like, much like you would to an employee, or to tell someone how to create your vision, then you're ultimately gonna end up with something not so good. So it's like garbage in,
Right.
garbage out. So if you have,
I think,
you know,
yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think that like humans are going to be at the point where we're applying the human element to AI, the story essentially,
mhm,
the cost of things, the human cost of something. And I feel like that's going to be the people who are extremely successful with this are going to be very good at bridging the gap between AI as the work output and the human element as the story. And humans are exceptional storytellers and we understand emotions and feelings and things very deeply, and we know how to connect with other humans on that level. And I feel like AI will always struggle with that. I think that it's a logic-based thing, right? And emotions aren't a logic-based thing. So applying feelings and emotions in the story to AI, I think is going to be the future.
Yeah, and that's where I mean, yeah, that's kind of like how you can bridge the gap between I think between like essentially where you're at right now and what you're doing right now in implementing AI and then being able to connect kind of like connect the dots. It's like the I always go back to the word augment because it's like I don't think it's replace, it's augmenting. It's like an extension of you, just like your phone is an extension of you at this point, or the
Right.
internet is an extension of you at this point. It's at the end of the day, it's still always a tool, but like every time a new AI comes out, it's always like graphic designers are cooked, web designers are
Yeah.
cooked. Like there's no like and I mean, at the end of the day, like they're not really cooked because there's still gonna be a need. There's still a need for someone to direct and like to actually set a vision and to be able to like make things that look good off of maybe they're using AI and it's easier now, but they still have to tell it what looks good and they have to know what looks good in the human psyche. Like the AI can't tell you that piece.
Right. No, I think that's a great example. I always looked at like, so growing up, it was interesting because people didn't understand technology a ton. And so, like, if you did work on a computer, for people that worked with their hands their whole lives, they saw people that worked on a computer as not even doing real work, you know?
Right.
And the way I would explain it back then is just like, imagine a computer is no different than a carpenter's hammer. It's the same thing. It's just a big hammer, right, to accomplish things. And then the smartphones came out and everybody kind of outsourced their phones, became a part of them. And people who utilize their phones for creating amazing things are utilizing that as just a really big hammer. And I think that AI has just reached a whole new level. It is just a really, really big hammer. It's a very powerful tool. It's you still need the carpenter to use the hammer to build the house, just as you're still going to need the founder, the idea person, the brain behind the human element behind utilizing AI and technology to create things. It's just that AI is just a really big hammer. That's all it
Hmm.
is. It's just a
Yeah.
useful tool, and it's not necessarily going to take away people's jobs and livelihoods. Things are going to get automated, and things are going to the work output of things is going to be exceptional. But that doesn't mean that the people who direct the work output are going to be gone. It's just things are going to change. Like I
Yeah.
said with the idea of the safety coordinator, right? Where I need to spit out safety documents. I don't need to hire that person. Like it's just that simple. I just don't need to hire that person because I can get those answers and get those documents output to me by AI that'll probably be better than that person could do. But that person can move on to the next thing. Somebody's still going to have to figure out what creates these safety standards to begin with. We're moving on to a from a people who just work on stuff, who are just outputters that are just creating, like building things all the time, like a assembly line almost, to a world where the idea people, the visionaries, are the ones who are going to have all of the weight because they have the tools now to do the things that the worker bees did before, and now they're going to be able to. They have the worker bees and an AI agent army, right?
Yeah.
But
That's their
they're
employees.
the vision, right? They're just gonna move humanity to more of a vision based society rather than like a pure production output kind of society, because the output will already be taken care of for us.
Have you ever heard the word like, well, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of it, but like when people say like manifest, like I'm going to manifest
Yeah,
something in a
yeah,
way, it's like, that's what AI feels like. It's like, I'm going to manifest this new application and I'm going to tell it all the
right.
ideas that I have in my head. And then it's going to become a reality in my
Oh,
life. So it's
yeah,
like, that's just, you're essentially being able to create based off of your ideas and what's even spoken. I use an app called Whisper Flow I was telling you about before, and it's like it just allows you to dictate exactly what you want, and then it goes ahead and writes out all the text for you. Or it can like help, like when you're writing an email, for example, I can say, "Hey, send an email to Alex and tell him that I'm running 15 minutes late to the podcast, and I'll be right on the call right after." And it's gonna actually just take that initial dictation, and now instead of like people have a bad experience, I think, with text to speech because it's been so bad for so long. But now with these like text to speech things, it's insanely good because it's incorporating AI on top of the text to speech of what it's actually hearing. So there are
Yeah.
cases where it gets it wrong, but it's like 95% of the time
More
it's
accurate than my
on.
swipe to text.
Yeah, so it's like, but that allows you to do so many more things because I think like there's a difference between like the way what's in your head and what you want to explain versus what you're actually typing on the keyboard even. So it's like when you actually talk, I almost talk like with
Mhm.
zero filter and zero, like sometimes it doesn't even make sense. I just like brain dump in a way into
Yeah.
it, and then I give it to the AI to take my thoughts and organize them all because I struggle with
Yeah.
that sometimes, like organizing my thoughts, and it helps me, augment that piece, but it like allows you to direct things in a different way because when you're typing it versus when you're talking it, you're going to say things differently and I don't know, it just feels more natural in a way. So it's
Yeah,
even
yeah.
hard to stop using your keyboard. Like I find myself like reaching for the keyboard a lot more even still when I'm using it, but when I actually do use the whisper flow and I'm like intentful about it, it changes the game in terms of like even doing development work or just trying to dictate certain things to people because it's so much more rapid.
Right. I get your point in that a lot of times I'm looking at AI and I'm thinking like, okay, how can I explain to AI what I want? You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how can I like, I have a vision in my head about what I'm trying to accomplish, but how do I explain? And so I'll spend a lot of time just trying to craft the right prompt to AI.
Hmm.
And I feel like, yeah, it would be better to run something like Whisperflow where I'm just brain dumping everything as
Yeah.
soon as like instead of like, hey, I think it would be cool to have or like, let's say if I prompt it, I could say like, create an app that allows me to track equipment hours on job sites. And whereas if I'm just brain dumping it, I would just be like, okay, I think it would be cool to have this app that I don't know, maybe it just tracks the hours on machines and then tells me when the next service interval is coming up. I'm not trying to like
Hmm.
craft a prompt. I'm just kind of like spewing it out of my mind. And then,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a tool like Whisperflow is just taking what I'm spewing out of my mind and putting it into something that's usable into the
Yeah.
real world. That's super cool. It's like more than just the way you interface.
Yeah, and I mean, even I don't know. It's just I look at it like when you go to rant. Like I always want to rant to my girlfriend. There's someone else in the house, and they never want to actually hear. It, but so it gives me an outlet to like where I can just sit there and rant about a specific topic. If you're not available to have a phone call or something, one of my friends can't get on. It's like I can just pick up my phone if it's on the app there. Or I can turn on the app like on my computer, and then I can just start ranting about things, and then I can say, "Now make this into 10 meaningful X posts that I can put up on the internet," or
Right, right,
whatever,
right.
or create this application around what I'm thinking, and it does a really good job of like taking all your chaos and like not you know, it's like if you don't even sometimes I do that even with typing, like I don't fully type out everything, like when in the prompt even, and it's just like
Yeah.
a brain dump and the same thing, but on the keyboard more or less. And that
I'm
ends up
downloading
taking it.
Whisperflow after this.
Yeah.
I've seen it around, like, I've seen people using it, and, I just for some reason, I've just never jumped onto it, and, I'm definitely gonna download because I think you can use it on your phone too, right?
Yeah, you can, and
I can tell you
I'm
the
just
number
using the
one thing
free
I'm gonna
version.
use it for. My wife hates it if I just like she sends me a message at work and like my brain's on something else because I'm working or whatever, and I'll just respond like, okay, just a
Right.
confirmation that I received. So like the first thing I'm gonna utilize it for is just to be like, okay, babe, sounds good. I can't wait to get home. You know what I mean? Just make it look like I
Yeah.
typed out and put a lot more thought into it.
Right.
Yeah. That's funny. But all right, yeah, I think we covered some pretty cool stuff. I feel like we went kind of off topic at the end, but that's kind of the point, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that if you guys like this podcast, make sure you guys give us a like and subscribe. If you have any questions about anything we talked about, go ahead and leave us a comment.
Dude,
Thanks
sounds
for
good.
watching.
Thanks.